the president hasn't focused so much on the size of government, he's focused more on where those seats are, right? So the cutting of the USAID, the Department of Education, many of the other agencies that have gone down preferentially, if you want to use that word, compared to the Department of Defense and some of the more traditional Republican agencies, is very purposeful, it's very methodical. What Russ and the president have done to shift policymakers farther down in the bureaucracy is really, at least from my interpretation, the core of their personnel policy. They want to make sure that the so-called deep state does not reach up into policy-making positions. They want policy appointees in those positions managing appropriately the implementers of those policies, and that's true both at OMB as well as within the agencies across the cabinet. Now, when's Congress? Grand question. Having written appropriations law for 16 years and been involved in many of the major, in fact, case in point, my first big piece of legislation was that which implemented PEPFAR, funded and implemented PEPFAR. So it'll be great to see Mark Dybel and some of the old crew tomorrow or tonight. They're fantastic human beings. We worked very closely, depending on which administration was in power, to set up rules that would give them the authorities to be able to spend the money to achieve their policies. And that was the Appropriations Committee historically has been relatively bipartisan. That has changed pretty dramatically in recent years, and we could probably do a whole separate session on the internal reforms in Congress that have led to the increasing polarization and lack of relationships across the aisle. We won't have that conversation today, but I think it's an important one to have. It will take some time, but I do believe that Congress will begin to reassert its authority, especially its power of the purse. It's not doing that right now. I do not know what that forcing function will be, but I do know that in order for Congress itself to reassert its authority, there's going to have to be a rethinking of, well, an evolution of the way the president, whether it be a Republican or Democratic president, informs the primaries and elections at the district level, especially in the House. That, in many ways, I think, informs this basic breakdown of the relationship between the power of Congress and the power of the executive branch.